So, what is the deal with passive voice? Chances are, if you've heard of it, which you may not have, which is totally fine, then you probably only know it as that thing that English teachers hate and keep telling me to get rid of. So, what is passive voice, and why do English teachers want to destroy it? Well, let's talk about it. So what even is passive voice? Well, first we need to talk about its counterpart, active voice. In English, our sentences are usually structured like this. A subject performs an action to an object. And all of those things can be words or phrases, and they can have things tacked onto them, but generally these are the main chunks of a sentence. And in active voice, they occur in that order. A subject does an action to an object. A dog plays with a ball. Rosalind Franklin discovered the structure of DNA. And that is what we call active voice. But passive voice is the opposite. It's when things are structured in the reverse order. In passive voice, an object has an action performed on it by a subject. Instead of a dog playing with a ball, we now have a ball is played with by a dog. And instead of Rosalind Franklin discovering the structure of DNA, we have the structure of DNA was discovered by Rosalind Franklin. Okay, so why do teachers think that this is bad? Well, passive voice can really disrupt the momentum of your sentence. In active voice, the action flows smoothly across the sentence. Everything is moving in this direction. The whole passage seamlessly goes from one idea to the next. But with passive voice, that momentum is reversed. The flow of action goes backwards. And that really disrupts the energy of your sentences. Everything else is moving this way, and then you have this sentence where the momentum is moving backwards. It's like a little speed bump in your paragraph, and that is usually not a good thing. Another reason it can be bad is because it hides who is performing the action. Because in passive voice, you actually don't even have to have a subject at all. And in fact, most passive voice sentences that you find in the wild don't have a subject. And for those sentences, the way to tell if something is passive voice is to see if you can add by zombies to the end of it. So you just have an object having something done to it, but you don't know who is doing that thing to that object. This is used all the time to hide fault. Whether it's CEOs and politicians saying mistakes were made, or police departments saying shots were fired, passive voice allows the subjects, the CEOs, the politicians, the police officers, to disappear from the sentences altogether. And they do this on purpose. They know that they're hiding things. It makes it a lot harder to be upset with someone when you don't even know who to be upset with. And if you want more resources on how passive voice is used in these kinds of situations and how people in power abuse grammar to shift blame and change narratives, I have lots of links in the description that you should check out. But it can't be all bad, right? Of course not. People often use passive voice when they just don't know who the subject was. Like, the documents were stolen. Who stole them? We don't know. Hopefully they weren't important. And you should also use passive voice when the object is more important than the subject. In English, the most important things in sentences usually come first. So in my Rosalind Franklin DNA example, you might use the first active construction if you want to emphasize Rosalind Franklin herself, which you might want to do if you're writing an essay about her. But if you were writing an essay on the history of DNA, then you would probably go with the second passive construction because that is the one that emphasizes the DNA. All of this is to say that passive voice isn't evil. If it's not used well, it can mess with the momentum of your sentences and it can be used to avoid blame, but once you know how to use it well, it can be a really great way to mix up your sentence construction and add some variety to your writing. So take this video as permission from your friendly neighborhood English teacher to go out and use passive voice to your heart's content. As long as you know why you're using it and make sure that you're using it for a good reason. And remember, write responsibly. Thank you so much for watching. This video was brought to you by my patrons and channel members. If you would like to support the channel, then head on over to patreon.com/Zoe_B, or just click the join button below this video. An especially huge thank you goes out to A Tasty Snack, Adam, Andrew, Dylan, Jaded Flames, Justin Lowry, Robert Bradford, Science Punk Sellout, and Will Swanson. Thank you so very much. And I hope to see you all again very soon.